I wasn't here this morning, but I've seen that you have quite a lot of discussions about the impact of WASH on the health of the population, and also about the technology and the new technologies for this. And this afternoon I was here for the very interesting discussions about the presence of the private sectors in the humanitarian and in the development problematics. Now that we are in the emergencies, I will of course talk about water production in the emergencies, but I will probably be a mix of all this and try to show you through the example of the Veolia Foundation how a private sector foundation can get involved in humanitarian emergency response and through both adequate skills and adequate technologies, try to have a positive impact on the health of the populations. Very quick word on Veolia, because we are not as well known as Coca-Cola or Unilever. Veolia is a French company which is kind of a leader on water and sanitation services, on waste management services, and on energy services. Basically, for the water and sanitation services, Veolia builds and operates plants, production plants, water networks for cities, for public sector, and for the private sectors. The overall company does not have a special involvement in the humanitarian, but through its foundation, the Veolia Foundation has a very strong historical involvement in the humanitarian crisis emergencies through the drinking water response. How does such a foundation act during humanitarian emergencies? Basically through two means, which are the providing skills from the company's employees and providing equipment. We are in a logic of partnerships, pretty much like the companies which were presenting before. We act on the field with a lot of partners, operating partners, some of whom are in the room, but French Red Cross, MSF, ACF, with also UNICEF, UNHCRs and stuff. And we provide to these partners on the field both skills and equipment. We provide equipment, and I will get a bit into it later. Basically, mobile water treatment units on the field, and we also provide to our partners the people who can operate these water treatment units. And this, to me, is the main added value. And we were talking about it, about how the private sectors can do more than funding and financing the projects. For us, this is the way. We actually have a network of volunteers in the companies who are able to give some of their working time, meaning the company still pays them, and while they work with us and with our partners on the interventions and on the field, on the crisis. So basically, virtually, we can have access to any skill and any competency inside the Veolia company, meaning depending on our partner's needs and our partner demands, we can get access to someone who will be a professional in chemistry, someone who will be a professional in water treatment, someone who can be very skilled in designing network, in operating a plant, and things like this. So this is a very important added value to our partners. To get a quick focus, because technology was this morning, but a quick focus on water equipment productions for the emergency situations. We have two types of equipments. I know that everyone is not a WASH technical background in this room, so I will not get into the technical details too much, but we have this equipment, which was the first one we developed, which works on a very, very basic and very robust process. Basically, you have sedimentation, then filtration of the water through sand and activated carbon, and then disinfections. This is an equipment which is designed for mainly massive productions and massive emergencies. It's called Aquaforce 5000 because it can provide water to up to 5,000 people, respecting the sphere standards of 20 liters of drinking water per person and per days. But it can be set up in parallel lines, and therefore it can produce up to 10,000 or 15,000 people. And we actually developed this with the French Red Cross, and it fits the International Red Cross Federation standards, which are a main standard for the WASH cluster. And This is another equipment that we developed more recently with the help of researchers from Veolia. This is also another way to provide skills to our partners, because the researchers helped us to develop an adequate equipment. This is way more light equipment. It's very light, it's very transportable, it's very easily set up. It works with membrane filtration, and it can be set up in just a few hours and transported by pickup. And so it's designed to be used in different kind of emergencies, not for massive productions like in a refugee camp, but more to be used in like scarce location, is very remote villages, or in a place where you have many small refugee camps, or to provide water to, for instance, a health center or a hospital or a school or something like this. The important thing I'd like to say about this equipment, earlier in the presentation of our, I don't know if it's still here, but our colleague from Coca-Cola, he explained that according to him, of course, drinking water is still a problem today, and of course, a lot of people don't have access to safe drinking water, but he explained that sanitation was a way bigger and more difficult problem to tackle, and even hygiene promotion even more. I really agree, and I'm the first one to stress the importance of sanitation, of hygiene promotion, and the difficulty indeed to improve the way we see sanitation on the field. But there is also a lot of misconception about what safe drinking water actually is. We often hear the figures, the official figures, I think, by the UN, saying that we have about 1 billion people on the planet who don't have access to safe water, and about 2 billion who don't have access to sanitations. But what we call safe water in this case is just water that is not directly coming from the pond of the river. But this does not mean that the water is actually safe. And on the field, during the emergency, you often see that water is treated very basically. Most of the time it's only chlorination, and even if the water is not very pure before, you just chlorinate and give it to the people. It's of course better than for the people to get it directly in the river, but still it's not necessarily safe. And the importance for us to have such equipment on the field is that the equipment provide a level of quality of water which is far above the just chlorinating water or just well water. And this is very important to stress. This is why we feel that a private company can bring such technology and can bring a real improvement on the health of population in the crisis compared to more basic treatments. So, coming from this, just an overview of the different types of interventions that the Veolia Foundation is in, and for each one, how we see the impact on the health of the populations. As I was saying, for the equipment, we have been involved in a lot of crises, of big crises, and provided to our partners massive drinking water productions. For refugee camps, for people after massive natural disasters like the tsunami, like Haiti, like the floods in Pakistan and stuff. And here, as I just explained, our opinion is that the health of the population is improved by the quality of the water, which is reachable only with good equipment and with professional people and skilled people who can closely monitor the quality of the water with adequate equipment. We also more and more have other types of interventions where we provide water for specific sites for our partners, and especially, for instance, for health centers and for hospitals and for schools. And here, the basic line is to ensure a crucial support to structures and to the people who need it the most, to the sick people in the hospital, where the quality of water is even more stressed and even more important. The last example is the example of cholera, and I will go a little further on this. The Veolia Foundation has been involved in interventions during cholera outbreaks, mostly with the French Red Cross in Zimbabwe in 2008 and in Chad 2011. And we have developed through these interventions an understanding of how it was during the emergencies and the outbreaks. And what we got from it, it's two things really. It's that, of course, we are confident that providing safe water and sanitation is essential, and that it's an essential step in fighting the disease. But still, especially in emergency, we don't have scientific means of measuring the direct impact of our interventions on the evolutions of the outbreaks and on the epidemiology. So that's a limit. And the other limit is the limit of the emergency intervention itself. Especially on the outbreak, it's crucial to have actors on the field to fight against the disease, but still you can make your interventions, and a few months later the disease will come back and the outbreaks will come back. And so for both of these reasons, we tried since this intervention to develop a more broad and a more structural approach on cholera especially. We started in Zimbabwe with the French Red Cross. We provided support to them during the emergency interventions, but then we provided a broader support to them in the months and in the years following that by helping them to rehabilitate all the water production plants in the area where the outbreak had emerged, to have kind of a structural approach to the fight against the disease. And I will finish by talking a bit about our programs in Congo DR. In Congo DR, we have since 2007 been in contact and been supporting the Ministry of Health in the global fight against the cholera in the country. You probably know that Congo DR is one of the most I don't know how to say it. One of the countries where the cholera is the most important, and when many people are touched by the disease. And we try to develop with the Ministry of Health and with our partners on the field an approach where epidemiological study will be really at the center. We both at the country level and on the local level. We started by epidemiological study showing the main zones, the main source zones of cholera in the country, where the cholera was endemic and present all year long. And in these zones, we promoted with our partners a structural approach by making a real work on the drinking water infrastructures. In Uvira, in South Kivu, we currently have a very important project where we support the city's Régie des Eaux, which is the public water company in Congo, to rehabilitate and to extend the drinking water infrastructures in order to fight cholera. We work there with many partners. Some of them are in the room. With the French Development Agency, with Oxfam. My colleague from Oxfam will continue talking about the project after me. With the Régie des Eaux, with the Ministry of Health. And overall, we strongly believe that for such disease as cholera, a structural approach taking into account both the structural work on drinking water infrastructures and the continuous study of the epidemiology of the malady, of the disease is very important. And what is crucial to us on this project is that we are working now with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine on an impact evaluation of the project, meaning that during the 3 years where we will be working on rehabilitating the water infrastructures, we will be working also with the LSHTM to try and monitor the evolution of the epidemiology of the cholera, of the incidence of the cholera, as much as the project goes forward, as much as the access to water is improved, to monitor closely how the cholera evolves. And hopefully this will give us a strong scientific study on the matter and on the link between cholera epidemiology and drinking water access in urban areas, which is something that is currently lacking in the scientific literature. I am finished. I will leave my Oxfam colleague to continue on this. Thank you very much.